So I haven't done a video in a while and thought I would do one tonight. I'm just gonna work. I'm gonna work with the key of B major and just talking about scales and how I go about using them and seeing them and things that you guys can work on to help yourself not only see the scales better on the neck and move around, but also try to be more musical when you use them, because that is the goal. So I'm going to try to not be too all over the neck, but I'm just going to take a couple positions here. So I'm going to be talking about cage system, 3-note per strings, pentatonics, and just different ways to see them. So if I was in B major and I come here and work in my E position here, starting at the 7th fret, so I see my roots B, and then in my G position, which would be the same 7th fret, so the 2 E's are going to be part of the E shape and the G shape, so 7 of the G, 4 of the 7 of the low E, 4 of the G, and 7 of the high E. So my E form is that, my G form is that. Now I'm using this little solid state practice amp, so it's hard to be dynamic on it at times, but I want you to know, it's like, when I play this, I just didn't go. Just like, right? I'm trying to hear that, those dynamics. I'm trying to pick quiet. So that alone right there for some of you can be a huge thing to practice. So sometimes it's not so much that you don't have enough information, it's just the way you're using the information is that you're not using it in a way to make it sound musical, right? And we've all been there, so I'm not going to sit here and act like, I know how this feels, and there's stuff that I'm still weak at, I'm working on. But anyway, so just, if you're running a scale up and down, which you really should never do, you should be at least doing it in a sequence of notes or something, groups of 3. Stuff like that is more musical than just running up and down. But if you are going to just kind of practice at least, think about how your pick dynamic, your pick control. When I get light there, my pick, I can basically just grab it like that. When I'm just kind of picking at a normal, way, then you gotta, take it a little bit from you, right? Obviously, if I want my pinch harmonics, then I'm gonna, barely would be able to take it from you. So just thinking about, just how light and hard, these are things I work at. I really try to be quiet. Hear all of a sudden an accent a note, Okay, so just something to think about as you're working, because again, it's these little things that I don't always hear people talk about on YouTube and things that just make a difference when you go to play and be musical. Okay, so anyway, so we've got these 2 forms, right? We've got the E form, we've got the G form. Now, some of the things you can do is you can just start trying to slide in and out of these 2 positions, right? So first is if you take the G form up, when you get to the B, you slide up and then you bring your E form down, okay? That way you're really making yourself see. That way, one thing, you're not just going up and down one form. At least you're going up one form, slide up, and bringing the other form down, right? So hopefully you can then make these 2 shapes become one big form. And honestly, that's a huge chunk of the neck right there by just seeing those 2 forms together. So the next thing you can do is you can just start randomly at times just sliding up to the next form. So if I start in that G form again, right away on the A string, I'm just sliding up into my E form. And now maybe I slide back down into the G form. Now, another thing to keep in mind here is that, when we learn scales, we learn these fingerings, okay? And what I notice from teaching all the time is that, in the beginning, it can be kind of a, I don't know, you take things really literal, right? So you learn this fingering for this scale, and you think that that's the only way, and you don't want to deviate from that fingering. Well, in real world usage, to me, fingerings are just a way to learn it, right? So if I learn this E form, that fingering, like the traditional fingering. But when I go and play that, I'm gonna be sliding in and out, and I'm not always gonna stick to that fingering. But what I find then is when students start to do that, is that if they deviate from that fingering, then at times they lose their place where they're at. And again, that's very common. So that's why we gotta practice hours and hours and hours to get this stuff so ingrained that we just don't have to think about it, right? When we're playing, we just want to be musical, right? Basically, you want to learn stuff so well that when you go to play, you forget it in a sense, right? You don't have to think about it. It's just reaction, right? Okay, so yeah, so I can just start randomly, like, I'm taking both the G and the E form, and I'm just sliding in and out of these patterns just whenever, right? I'm not really being too musical here, but if you were just learning this would just be a great exercise to just be randomly just sliding back and forth and just seeing that you can see these positions. Maybe one finger. So think about that. If I have on that B string, I have 4, 5, 7, and 9. I could take my finger. Some of the things I do when I slide back is I don't really like slide my hand. So I don't go like I'm actually reaching. I can sit with my thumb on the back and reach for the knife. I tend to have more control. Obviously, if I have to start moving up the neck, I'm gonna eventually have to move my hand. But from here, like just doing 4, 5, and 7, I don't have to move my hand. I can just reach for those notes, right? Okay. So another thing I see here amongst these two is my pentatonic, right? So basically from your G and E form, each of these forms, all you're doing is you're just taking away 2 notes, and that leaves you with that and that. So I have all my pentatonics, right? Which to me is its own thing too, right? So you may see me like seeing pentatonic, and then all of a sudden I go into the full scale, and then I'm back into the pentatonic, right? They both have their own sounds, okay? And then you probably notice that I'm like, it's my devices. So your devices, what we call our lead guitar devices, and those are, your hammer-ons, pull-offs, slides, bends, tapping, harmonics, all that stuff. So you got to learn to start using those, because those, again, what brings scales to life, okay? To me, it's kind of like, you could say it's 3 main things. It's more than that, but 3 main things. It's the notes you play, it's how you play those notes rhythmically, and then it's these other things you're doing with your devices, hammer-ons, pull-offs, and slides. So you could say that's lumped in with how you play the notes, but I look at that as more like a rhythm thing, right? So the notes you play are just as important as how you play the notes rhythmically, and then how you play the notes in regards to like hammer-ons and pull-offs, like touch, like we were just talking before. Like I get the finger, I'll hide my pick in my middle finger like that, and I can use when I go in the finger stop. It gives me a whole thing. I've been working lately on trying to do this faux slide, like fake slide sound, So I want to rake. So anyway, I'm just trying to say that, like, again, for me, it's another tool to be able to play with my fingers, because I can do all sorts of different things like that, right? So yeah, so things like just taking like, so right there, like even if something is, I don't want to say simple, but just something like this where I like on the B string there, I go 7, click hammer on and pull off to 9, but 9 back to 7. And then right away from there, I'm going to slide down to 5 to 4. So, and then look what I'm doing here, vibrato, right? If you notice another thing to help with noise, I'm still getting a little bit of noise. As you can see, everything I can here in my right hand to mute out all this stuff. So if I go like this, you're gonna start hearing all this other strings ringing out. But if I can kind of mute this with my right hand here, and just you can see I'm down here just muting. Right? Okay, so all that right there was no picking. So one pick. Doing a lot of legato, or you're just and then I'm doing over here what I got to do to it's tough. It's something I've been working on, and you can see I'm still creating a lot of noise. It's something I'm trying to get better at. All right, let's talk about. I got a backing track up here. I'll just kind of mess around with this. One thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to take the same rhythm. So motifs, I talk to my students a lot about motifs, and motifs are just repeating phrases, short repeating musical phrases. And I really think if you're learning to improvise, this becomes a great way to go about practicing, because you give yourself something to work with instead of just taking a scale and just trying to play it up and down. It's not musical. If you think like, hey, okay, I'm going to try to make something that's repeating, people have a little bit more success, I believe, when they do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to repeat a rhythm, so a rhythmic motif that I move around the neck, right? Okay. So if I see B major pentatonic here, I'm going to take the same, and I could go to the next string and go the same motif, and now I have this string. So now I've just taken the same da 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 da. Alright, so I've taken the same rhythm and I've just changed it to the different strings and did the same rhythm. So let me try it over back. What do I got here? Very cheesy B major track here, but not a lot of B major on YouTube. So a lot of repetition. I'm not going to remember everything I did, but so you're using this little, that's really simple, right? But I kept kind of repeating. The first thing I did again was just that, and then I went to the next string set, and here, and I kind of, you notice how I repeat things, because this is a 4-chord progression. So I'm repeating things 3 times, and then from there, I'm like the last time I'm doing something different, just to change it up, to cap it off, right? Okay? But just realize that, and if you really listen closely to popular music, you hear repetition just all over the place. So motifs just, and what I find when people are trying to improvise, learn how to improvise, they're just constantly just run and stuff, nothing, they're not repeating. I'll have times where I'm teaching a student and they'll do something that's really cool, and I'll say, stop, like play that again, and they're like, I don't remember, I don't know what I did, I don't remember. And the reason they don't remember is because they're never, when they're practicing, they're never making themselves repeat things. And the more you train yourself to repeat things, you just get good at remembering the things you did. Okay. Another one I did is, so I'm bending, and the second time I did it, I went back, and then again, you know, notice how I like repeated it like 3 times, and then the last time, right, I did something different. Okay. Let's see here. Double. I'll leave with this, right? Just again, pentatonics. You know, double stops. So if you see this, just take 2 strings. So B and E. So you have 7 and 7 and 9 and 9. And then on the G and B, you got 6 and 7 and 8 and 9. Right? And then you got what do you got? On the D and G, you got 9 and 8. And then you got, what do you got here? You got 8, 6 and 6. So you got 8, 9 and 9 on the A and D string, and 6 and 6. 9 and 9 on the E and A, and then 7 and 6 on the E and A. So you're just taking this scale and you're double stopping your way through the scale, right? Now things I can start doing. So I can start like, and I come down to this formula. And I get, so I'm just double time. So if I take my hammer on down, and I double stop these, double stop. Right, so just stuff like, how's that sound over a track? Let's see here, right? Some of you out. Just, I know it's a bunch of random stuff there, but if you have any questions, let me know. Thanks.